Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Monday Night Fantasy Football. You are here with the Fantasy Football Buzz podcast. Above me tonight, I've got Cyclops. I've got 2020. Guys, the Miami
What's
Heat
up?
game is on. It's an exciting night. What's going on with you guys?
Oh, well, it's Monday night, and I care less about the Heat than I do the football season coming up in 10 days. Although I am pulling for the Heat. They're playing the Bucks, is that right?
They're
That's
playing
right.
the Bucks. They're down by
All
3
right.
at halftime, and it's a really difficult game. It's
Well,
hard to
it-
watch.
As it should be
Yes.
in the playoffs.
Although Giannis has 3 fouls, so I'm liking that. I'd like to see another foul come early in the third period.
All
Yes,
right.
so once again, if I find myself looking this way, it's because I've got the team on our monitor. But in the meantime, we're here to talk about fantasy football tonight. We've got another special treat tonight. We're going to be doing a mock draft. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We have some special guests coming on to help us with those picks. But Brad and Keith, I'd love to hear what's going on in training camp, what's going on in the NFL. I know lots of stuff just today.
Yep. Well, the big
Yeah.
news, obviously, I don't know if you want to take it, Cyclops, but was
No, go
the
ahead.
release of a guy you loved, just because of the pure draft value, is
Who?
Leonard Fournette. No, Seth. Seth was Commish was just because of where he was
Value.
going in drafts.
Value,
Draft
yeah.
value. Agreed, and I agree because the guy is a talent, but now he's a talent without a team. But I think we can all agree he's going to land somewhere. I'm curious, the three of us, where do we think is the most optimum? Where is he going to land? I would think the Jets probably. They didn't get Balaj, which I don't know why they wanted anyway. But curious your thoughts on it.
Well, to answer the question about the issue about the Jets is we saw what happened with Arian Foster and Adam Gase, and I think that there's a little look. We all know Fournette didn't get released because he's bad. Okay, we know that. So the last thing that I think that Adam Gase is going to want to do is bring somebody like that into the locker room. So I don't think he's going to go to the Jets. I think Houston might be a good spot for him with David Johnson, not necessarily the old David Johnson. But I also think the Washington football team, they're looking, right now Gibson looks like to be their starting running back. So that's where I think. But to me, the bigger question, guys, is if you're a fantasy football player and you own Leonard Fournette because you had a draft before today, where would you want him to be?
I would like him to be in probably of all the places. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, probably Chicago. I think Chicago would be the best opportunity. They don't have much as far as backups. They haven't, the Montgomery's injured, and
For how
he
long?
could come in and the 2 to 4 weeks I think is the general range right now. But if Montgomery hasn't shown a ton, so if Fournette, somebody's going to sign Fournette.
Oh, absolutely.
And wherever he goes, I would imagine he's going to get an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I
know,
can see him in Kansas City. I mean, they don't have a veteran running back there, and Fournette's got 3-4 years under his belt.
Again, a
Hilarious.
championship caliber team is not going to grab somebody like Fournette to come into their locker room. I'm telling you, it's going to be a team that's desperate, that doesn't care about grabbing somebody who's got issues. My concern as a fantasy owner, if I own Fournette with him going to Chicago, is bad offense. Tariq Cohen, Montgomery still has the ability to play. They're going to do a running back by committee if they get Fournette. To me, the only team that's going to run him constantly is probably going to be Washington.
Well, they still have Peterson.
They have Peterson there. Yeah.
Yes, they have Peterson, but it's
Look,
he's
so
97 years old.
he's either gonna sign or he might wait it out just a little bit, wait for an injury. There's gonna be an injury, and he can come in. Maybe it's a place like St. Louis, who they have Cam Akers and other.
You mean Los Angeles?
Sorry, Los Angeles. Yes.
Mhm.
It's possible. It's possible the Rams, and I know Jonah just texted me because it's halftime, so he's not watching the game. He put the Rams. He also put Steelers.
I've heard New England.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity. Look, he's a fairly proven back that has off-field issues, but you can kind of plug him in, and see what happens. We're gonna have to wait it out. I think potentially the bigger news that came out today for fantasy, for NFL, everything is Alvin Kamara hasn't been at practice unexcused for the last 3 days. I think that's bigger news than Fournette.
Well, the only reason it's not as big of news is because we're talking about 3 days, and he hasn't said that he is going to hold out. Now, he did tweet a very mysterious apology in advance, is what he said. I apologize in advance. So that to me sounds like he's going to hold out. And this goes to our mock draft, which we'll get to in a little bit. But, if you don't have one of the first 3 picks in the draft, think about the running backs between Cook, Mixon, and Kamara, all holdout threats, right? Even though Mixon and Cook are practicing, they've all 3 of them have said that they wouldn't mind holding out this year. Then you've got Drake, Sanders with injury issues. It's tough when you you're in that 7 to 10 range.
It's crazy.
I don't know what you're going to do.
Maybe you take Fournette.
Yeah, although Fournette was dropping, being collected in the 3rd, 4th round of many drafts.
Yeah, at least Fournette's not holding out anywhere.
Right, he's holding out to get signed.
But tomorrow at 4 or 4:30 is when he waivers begin. I am not sure, but I think that Cincinnati might have the first, and then Washington has the second go in the waivers. And from what I understand and from what I hear, Washington has been going through the steps to be ready to pick him up. They have been exploring the reasons why he was dropped so that possibly they can grab him. We know Cincinnati, probably, unless they know something that we don't know about Mixon, is probably not going to be grabbing him.
Right. So there's a lot more to talk about. There's obviously more things in training camp. We have guests on that are waiting to come in for a mock draft. We can go ahead and bring them in now, talk a little bit more, and then we can get into the mock draft. Does that sound fair?
That's good enough. Go ahead and bring them in.
All right. So there's one. There is Jeff at his team name is Warlocks. Here's Chris. And here is John.
Hey.
All right. So,
welcome, fellas.
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. We're gonna have you guys come in and draft for us. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We're gonna do the mock draft in a second, but before we do, there's a few injuries and fantasy relevant things that I wanted to bring up real quick. Deebo Samuel is one of them. And the reason that Deebo Samuel is fantasy relevant is because everyone thought, well, Deebo Samuel hurt his foot in June. He was going to be okay coming in, but right now it's like that AJ Green thing from last year. If you remember, everybody said, okay, he'll be ready for the beginning of the season. A foot injury is tough. So everyone said, well, what about Brandon Ayuk? He can come in and he can take that spot that Deebo Samuel, but now he's got hamstring issues. So right now, the way it looked for San Francisco is there are 2 starting receivers on week 1. Could be Trent Taylor and Kendrick Bourne, guys.
Right.
So that might elevate George Kittle as far as targets go, but it's also going to be probably have 2 safeties covering him the entire time.
They may have more hurt his value, though, right? Yeah. If you're game planning, it's stop 85. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was about to say they're 2 starting. One of their starting receivers is George Kittle. That's the receiver.
Yeah. Also Rager in Philadelphia.
In Philly, yeah.
Hurt. They're saying 2 to 4 weeks, but probably closer to the 4-week time frame. So
without Alshon Jeffrey,
and Jeffrey's
now looking at Deshaun Jackson and Greg Ward,
that's right,
along with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, they'll be doing a lot of the 2 tight end set in Philly. You're going to see a lot of the underneath crossings that we saw last year with the double tight ends. Rieger was going to be a nice sleeper pick for somebody late in the draft. I still think he could be later in the draft, but it's something to keep an eye on, considering he probably won't be playing at least for the first 1 or 2 weeks.
Right.
Jarvis Landry, somebody else that people are drafting mid-draft right now, and he's dealing with some injuries. We're not sure whether or not he's going to be ready at the beginning of the season. DeAndre Swift, we don't know if he's going to be ready. Kerryon Johnson, it looks like, is going to have that starting position on the depth chart. Depends on how long it'll take before Swift takes over. But right now, word out of camp in Detroit is that it's Kerryon Johnson's position to lose right now. Tyrell Williams in Oakland, we know he got hurt. We're looking at Brian Edwards actually as somebody who might be a nice late wide receiver target. And then finally, Kenyon Drake, guys, he's been out. He's been dealing with what they say is an extremely minor problem, but he's in a walking boot. And I don't know how many extremely minor issues people walk around in walking boots.
That's in a walking boot, right?
Yeah. So if you grab Kenyon Drake, even though I'm not a big handcuff guy, I think Chase Edmonds has to be somebody that you're going to consider later in the draft.
I thought I heard something about Darrell Henderson, which is certainly going to make Cam Akers' stock rise as well.
Yeah, well, right now Darrell Henderson has a strain. They say that he will be back for week 1. He did miss a lot of practice time, and if they were so happy with Henderson, I don't think they would have grabbed Cam Akers in the second round.
Exactly.
So,
right.
If I'm fantasy guys, I'm not touching him. I'm not touching Malcolm Brown. If I'm going to grab somebody, it's going to be Cam Akers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Going into this preseason, which of course we didn't have any games this preseason, we knew and we talked about for several weeks already that we're going to see a lot more injuries. There's just less time on the field,
right?
Less time of preparation. Wasn't the mini camps, and we had talked about this, and it just makes and we haven't even dealt with any of the COVID issues that could potentially happen. Right, they're not happening in training camp. It's the injuries, and you're seeing a lot of injuries. You're having a lot of, and then you have players that are, like Kamara, who's potentially holding out, who's sending these, encrypted texts and all these things. So it's really, I think, going to be quite an interesting year.
Absolutely, because this is just training camp. I mean, the contact is nothing like competition contact start week 1. There's always training camp injuries, although they definitely seem to be flaring up. But I happen to agree. Week 1, week 2, week 3 rolls around without any preseason contact against other teams. They're not going to be in that kind of body shape that they normally are. So we knew this was going to be an interesting year, but from every perspective, it's very different.
So, Chris, I have a quick question for you. I know before we get started. Now, you do a 96-team league, and I know we've had you on in the past couple years, and you've talked about it. Is that the draft you did last night? I know we talked.
Yes.
All right, so that's 96 teams. Now, I know that breaks up into different leagues, so.
Yeah, and there's 12 teams per fantasy board. You represent a fantasy board, whatever forums you go in and whatnot. And then there's 8 carbon copies of each player. And so typically we're trying to squeeze it in this year in about 2 or 3 weeks time frame, when normally we have a 6-week lag of when this draft starts. So you can pick a guy in, on mid-July, and then at the end of August, you've now gotten the guy who's going to replace him because he's injured or holding out. So it's pretty interesting, but that is kicked off, and 1 or 2 of the drafts are finished, but they're slowly moving on. So we have to make sure we finish up by the start of the season.
It's an interesting concept, and I know I've never really asked you about it, but maybe next year, if there's a spot, I'll look into that.
I got a headache just thinking about it.
Typically, about 100 and I want to say about 115 to 130 trades annually.
Wow.
And I should say annually, just during the draft.
Now, now, John, I know you just did a draft. You drafted. What position were you in your draft?
I was 10th out of 12th.
10th out of 12. And who did you end up getting in that first round?
I got Dalvin Cook.
At 10?
Wow.
At 10. People were very scared, and I picked him up, and I said, well, I got to pick up Madison early in the later rounds, and I got Madison too, so I'm smooth sailing.
Wow.
All right. Well, I doubt Cook will drop to 10 tonight.
I don't
Because
think.
what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go into our mock draft. We haven't decided how many rounds it's going to be, but we're going to try to move it along. When you do make a pick, you can tell us why you're making the pick, but try to limit it to like 30 seconds because we want to get through this. But I do want to hear, and I'm sure the listeners want to hear, why you're picking a certain player at that position. We all know somebody like Dalvin Cook is good, but why are you picking him there as opposed to later or something like that? So,
Right.
does everybody know, I guess, what position you're picking in? If not, I'll tell you, John, you're picking 3. Chris, you're picking 8, and Jeff, you're picking 1 and 6. All right. Everyone else know where they're picking? Okay.
Yep.
So this, I'm going to share my screen in a second. We're going to show the draft board. I'm going to be going back and forth between the draft board and choosing the player that's available. Keep in mind, this is a PPR draft with 1 quarterback, not a team quarterback, an actual player, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex, a tight end and a kicker and a defense. We're not going to get far enough down to where you're going to start having your backups or your kicker or possibly not even your defense. But keep in mind there is that flex, and that flex could be a wide receiver, running back, or a tight end. Does everyone got it?
You
Oh,
said
it's
this is
PPR.
PPR or half PPR?
PPR, full PPR.
Full PPR. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be
we
half.
heard
My
half.
bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, full PPR, and I'm going to share this now. All
Dun,
right.
dun, dun, dun.
So we have the draft board here. Ignore the names. Don't worry about it. But we know that, Jeff, you're going to have the first pick. I don't think that there's really any mystery to it.
Oh,
You're
I
gonna
am
go
up
with
in the
Patrick here?
air, actually.
I'm sorry?
I am up in the air, actually, because of a new quarterback and a new head coach, maybe a new scheme for Carolina. And I know there's a new head coach in New York, but I think I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley.
Wow, okay.
All right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Last year's consensus number 1.
Exactly. I think I'm pretty sure there's no question. I'll take McCaffrey at number 2.
You're welcome.
And Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I'm third pick. I have to. It's Zeke.
Okay, so the third one is Ezekiel Elliott.
So I'm up 4 here.
You're up 4.
So this
Back
up
to
until
the draft board.
yeah. So up until a couple days ago, this was obvious, right? Generally, the consensus was Kamara, and all of a sudden now he's not there, and what's going to go on? And it gets a little sketchy here because Kamara, Cook. I'm not one for taking a receiver in the first round. I'm going to take Edwards-Helaire here.
Interesting.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't trust either one of those guys at this point.
And it is full point PPR. You know he's going to catch balls. It's
PPR,
still
he's
interesting.
going to get a ton of catches.
So you don't trust other guys, but you trust a rookie who's never played a single down in the NFL, who even with that offense, the running back is not necessarily the focal point of that offense, yet you're still confident with that pick.
I'm taking
That's
him.
right, Commish. Make him feel bad about it.
All right. Before I make my pick, I just want to say, if anybody out there would like to, you can have my pick. If you would like to be part of this mock draft and you would like to make some picks, give us a call, 772-800-2899, or comment in the section in Facebook Live or YouTube Live and join us, and we will be part of this. So it's my pick right now, and I agree that the Kamara issue really threw, a wrench into this whole thing. So now I'm looking between Henry and Cook.
Yep.
When breaking everything down, I think Dalvin Cook is really the guy. He's going to be the focal point of that offense. It would be hard for me to pass him up, so I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook here.
Especially in a PPR.
Especially in a
Yeah.
PPR. Okay, so
Just
now,
yeah.
Okay, so now we're back to Jeff with his other team, and Jeff, what are you going to do here?
I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
All right.
He's just going to get the bulk. He's not going to get a lot of catches. He'll get all the carries. Who is his backup in Tennessee? Anybody?
No, I don't know off the top of my head.
Right. So that's pretty much why most of these other guys have an admirable backup. So I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
Is the guy from New England still there?
Deion Lewis is
Deion Lewis? No, he's gone.
Giants.
He's there.
He's gone. I think he's
No,
working at UPS.
The backup is actually Darrington Evans and Sonoris Perry, who used to be in Miami.
Right.
So, yeah, Jeff, that's a great point. He really doesn't have any competition.
Yeah, maybe Fournette will go there.
All right, Keith. So your other team now is up for your first pick. Who are you grabbing here?
Even with the news that dropped today, I don't know how I don't go Alvin Kamara, especially in a full point PPR. So I mean, I got to take AK here, and just look to back that up in a later round with Lat Murray. So I'm going Kamara.
All right. So now we're to Chris. You got the best receiver in the game available. In fact, the two best, the 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. Either one that you can make an argument for. Are you doing that, or are you going to grab a running back?
I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So it's an 8-teamer, right? So I have the swing coming.
No, it's a 10.
No, it's a 10-teamer.
Oh, it's a 10-teamer.
Yeah. So let me put the draft board back on. Sorry about that. So here's the draft board.
All right. Then I still can't pass up Michael Thomas, especially if Kamara holds out.
There's nothing wrong with grabbing Thomas this late because you can still grab a running back coming back around.
Yeah.
I think that's a good pick there. Okay.
I agree. In that spot, it works.
Well, Brad, your other team now is ready to draft.
So I've taken Hilaire.
Well, not for this team.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true.
This is a new team here.
This is my number 9.
Right.
So here I am going to I'm going to take Joe Mixon here.
All right.
That's my pick.
What do you guys think? What does everyone else think here?
I think it's a solid choice in a PPR. I love Jacobs, but he didn't catch a ton of balls last year. I like it. I like Joe Mixon here quite a bit.
With one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, I'm not a Bengals or Joe Mixon fan.
Well, yeah, the same bad offensive line last year.
Right, and he caught a ton of balls. Yeah,
that's right. With a lesser, what I think is a lesser quarterback last year.
Okay,
even with Burrow's rookie.
And
you guys love your rookies, man. Okay, so this is my other team here. This is the 10th pick. I've got the corner. I've got 10 and 11. And at this point, and I can easily make an argument for the fact that Devontae Adams is actually the best receiver in the game, even better than Michael Thomas. And I'm not going to go through the statistics to show you that, but I will tell you, and we can even talk about that on Thursday. But I'm going to go with Adams, and I know that I can come back around, and I've got Jacobs here. My other idea for the 11th is, what if I double up and I get 2 incredible receivers? But if I do that, I'm going to be hurting for running backs coming back. So I like Jacobs here. I thought he was going to go in the first round. So at the beginning of the second round, I think Jacobs is in a good spot here. And now we're back to Brad. You've got Mixon. Now what are you going to do?
So at this point, if Jacobs was here, I would have taken him. I almost took him instead of Mixon. And they're talking about featuring him with more throwing to him more this year. At this point, with having Mixon, I'm going to take Julio Jones here. I'm going to have the running back, wide receiver, and hope that I can get another starting running back when I get back around.
Right,
exactly. Like they're dropping like flies.
Hey, like I said last year in our draft, picks 1 through 9 were running backs.
Yeah.
And it was projected that 2 receivers would go during the first round, but actually they were all running backs. So you've always got to be ready for that contingency.
Well, it's amazing. And going back to that, some of that depends on when you draft. If you drafted 3 weeks ago, it's a completely different draft than if you're drafting right now.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so now Chris, you're up. You've grabbed Michael Thomas, which we understand why. What do you do now? Did we lose Chris?
Oh wait, he's not in. He's not in the system. Why is he not in? Oh no, there he is.
There I
there you
am.
are.
Sorry, guys. I was
Okay.
on mute.
Did Giannis just get his fourth foul? The Heat game is tied 73 to
It's tied
73.
73 all, yeah.
And it looks like he may
He's on
have,
the bench. Yes.
he may have just gotten his fourth foul. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Buzz Podcast.
Tell me.
I'm going to try get myself a running back before they start to thin out. And being that it's PPR, I'm going to go with Austin Eckler.
Yep, I had a feeling that's where you were going.
All right, not a bad pick. You did pick him over Chubb, Jones, Sanders, Drake. I understand because of the PPR. If you're happy with 10 carries a game, then that's good. Go back to the draft board here. Oops. No, don't want to do that.
The Commish is pissed tonight.
Oh no.
He's not the Commish anymore. Now he's the guilt. We're gonna call him the guilt.
Holy
man.
shit! He's the guillotine. Oh, what happened?
Okay, all right. Hold on.
We gotta do it over.
No, I don't think we don't have to do it over. You just got to give me a second. So if you guys want to talk about how great that pick was, you can.
You know, the problem is we normally have strippers doing our draft board. The Commish isn't used to this, so sorry for the technical difficulties.
I like Eckler a lot. I had him last year. I won a championship with him last year. I know different quarterback, but Teddy Bridgewater's a short pass, and Eckler can easily, dump off and he goes.
It's
Teddy Bridgewater?
it's not
Tyrod Taylor.
No, not Teddy. It's
Tyrod
Tyrod. I'm
Tyrod
sorry.
Taylor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got back from work and I'm exhausted. I was like, it's one of one's but T. Tyrod will. I think he'll have a good time favoring him a lot, especially.
That could be. You know what, Eckler? He really proved himself last year. He's an interesting pick this year. I think right around the middle of the second round is the right spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy there.
Yeah.
At this point, obviously Gordon's gone, and you just don't know how the whole team is going to be.
I have a premonition that, and I love Eckler. My only concern is he's never been a 250 carry guy.
Oh yeah.
And my premonition is that is a very possible landing spot for Fournette. He's that Melvin Gordon type where Eckler could be the 1B to the 1A. I see that possibly happening. Obviously, that's a crazy premonition. I love Eckler. Again, if that guy stays healthy, I would want him from an NFL perspective and a fantasy perspective. I just don't. He's never been that 250 touch guy.
Oh yeah. No,
He's also never really had the opportunity.
Exactly.
No, he had the opportunity last year.
He had the opportunity.
Justin Jackson.
He absolutely had the opportunity last year. If you remember, Melvin Gordon didn't come in until week 4 against Miami, and he didn't even play in that game. So week 5 is when Melvin Gordon came in. So week 1, Austin Eckler, 12 carries for 58 yards. Week 2, 17 carries, 66 yards. Week 3, 9 carries, 36 yards. Week 4, 18 carries, 60 yards.
Yes, but how many catches?
It was receptions.
That's what I said. He does get catches. But I'm just saying, if you're hoping that this guy is going to carry the ball, he only had one game last year with over 100 yards rushing. I understand that. But I'm just, as long as you have somebody else, if you're going to try to get rushing yards, because it's not a guarantee that he's going to be the dump-off guy this year. It's a completely different offense. This isn't Phillip Rivers anymore. So I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm just saying there are issues about picking him over something like Chubb. But
I agree with that. That's why I honestly see this being a landing spot for Fournette, that 15, 20-plus carry guy every week. So
okay.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Moving on.
Now, Keith, you're up with this team here that got Alvin Kamara first. What are you going to do now?
Here, I love those 3-down backs. And I know there's a little bit of issue with Drake in the injury, but nothing to me that I saw, if I'm correct, that sees that he should miss any kind of playing time or anything serious, right? I love Drake. Yeah, I like Drake here as a full point PPR. It's him. I know I'm skipping over Chubb. I know I'm skipping over Jones and a lot of these guys, but I like Kenyon Drake, so I'm grabbing him here.
Okay. Drake is also another one of these guys that who knows if he's going to get 1,000 yards on the ground, but he will be getting some receptions.
Right.
Not a bad pick. Not my pick, but yeah, not a bad pick. So I'll grab him here. And we're going to go back now to Jeff, who had picked Derrick Henry for this team. What are you doing now coming back around? Are you grabbing another running back, or are you going to go with the receiver?
I'm going to go with another running back, but it's a toss-up between Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones. Is there any injury issue with Miles Sanders? I know Carson Wentz has been injured and their receiving core is getting depleted.
Sanders is fine. Totally healthy.
He's week to week right now. If you look on the right side, he's week to week with a lower body injury. Not expected that he'll miss week 1.
Right.
The team supposedly is not concerned about it. So that's the skinny on Sanders.
He's practicing, though, right?
He's going to get more of a load than Aaron Jones, I believe. So Miles Sanders it is.
So you're going to go with Miles Sanders here. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Seth, now we go back to you.
Now it's back to me. I've got Dalvin Cook, and I think I'm okay waiting. No, I'm not okay waiting on a running back. If I see well, normally I would be, right? Because to me, Chubb and Jones probably have been gone at this point. And had they been gone, I probably would have gone with Tyreek Hill. But I can't just let Chubb sitting there, somebody who almost had 1,500 yards rushing last year. Yeah. It's hard for me to leave him on the board. So my team right here of Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb, give me some scrubs playing receiver, and I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah, at this point, you're going to get a receiver, still a top 10 receiver coming back around, right, most likely. So I would do the same thing in your position. I really wanted to get Chubb in the next spot just because I wanted to say I want Chubb.
I love Chubb.
But I didn't.
Well, if you look at my team name, it's I got a Chubby. So I had to. My team wouldn't have made sense.
It's from last year, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What
So
so you got CEH.
All right.
Now
so
what are you going to do?
At this point, I have to. I'm in the same position. I'm going to have to take Aaron Jones here. I would have been one or the other at this point with what was left, but I got to take Jones and do the same thing with receiver coming back. The running backs really start. It's amazing. I think we've taken 3 receivers and 12 running backs at this point.
Right, and so Ezekiel Elliott, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon Barkley are going to have to carry the team for numbers 1, 2, and 3 in this case, because if we were to filter this out by position here, look at what we have left for running backs, guys. James Conner, Chris Carson, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Melvin Gore. I mean, we're hurting here. Yeah. So let's go back to our list, and Ezekiel Elliott is sitting by himself. John, what are you going to do now?
So this is my situation. I know for a fact that running back wise, you all are swapping a wide receiver soon. With what I have left, that's the next ones up are Le'Veon Bell, Chris Carson, Connor, Gurley with his arthritic knee, and I'm not picking Leonard Fournette because I'm not crazy, and David Johnson. Those are my next ones up. Those guys are predicted to go anywhere between the late 4th, early 5th, and in some cases maybe late 3rd if someone really wants another running back. But seeing how you guys are all going running back right now, my next guess on where you're all moving is you're probably either A, going to go for Kittle as a tight end and just get him right now, or Kelsey, or B, you're going to pick up a good wide receiver. And what good wide receiver is still left on the board right now that has a really high ceiling, is fast as hell? It's Tyreek Hill. And if it's between that or Kelsey, and I want a top wide receiver in a PPR league, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. I know when it comes back to me, when I get the 3rd pick again, I'll have a chance at a running back. I don't think everyone's just going to fill the board as pure panic right now with the rest of the running backs, and I'm good.
Well, let me,
All right.
since you brought that up, and it's a good observation, but I think that there's two things to keep in mind. You had listed probably 4 different running backs that might be left, that might be salvageable, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
We think possibly 2 and 1 are going to grab running backs. They might even grab running backs coming back because of the flex position.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I understand that Tyreek Hill at 2.08 is an incredible value. There is no doubt. But this shows that sometimes in these drafts, you got to kind of go with the flow. And if you can grab somebody like Tyreek Hill, Ezekiel Elliott's like a running back and a half. So even if you get a half a running back, you should be doing all right. So that being said, Keith, you've got Christian McCaffrey. What are you going to do now for your second pick?
Yeah, so I'm going to bury the lead. I'm going James Conner here. I do love when you have the flex position. I love feeling that with the running back. I always want to get a player that the ball is going to be in their hands 15 to 20 times versus a receiver when I have that option. Conner, to me, this is a guy that was going in the first round last year who was on a team that was completely different without its top quarterback and its top receiver. Well, without its quarterback. So I love Conner here, and I'm ecstatic to get him here. And I'm not so worried because just to give you the philosophy here, the top 4 wideouts are gone. And I feel like a lot of I know you got Godwin out there and DeAndre, what have you. To me, I love finding those gems. And there's a couple receivers out there. It's who's going to be this year's Adam Thielen? Who's going to be this year's, from last year, Chark and what have you. So I love Conner here.
Does everybody else like Conner here?
I don't particularly love him here.
I'm
not a huge Conner fan this year. I think it would be another round before I would look at taking him. I know he won't be there for the most part.
He won't be there though, and that's the thing.
No, I know, but I'm okay with that. I think I don't know, just not a huge fan.
Here's my concern with Conner before he got hurt last year. Where he was the starting running back on this team. Week 1, 10 carries, 21 yards. Week 2, 11 carries, 33 yards. Week 3, 13 carries, 43 yards. Week 4, 10 carries, 42 yards. Week 5, 14 carries, 55 yards. Week 6, 16 carries, 41 yards. I mean, we talk about wanting to have the 2018 Todd Gurley. I think people want the 2018 James Conner.
Right.
And I don't, And
I agree. There's logic to that. But, Commish, you could do the same thing with Derrick Henry. How are his first 4 or 5, 6 games of the season? You can look at Tyler Lockett.
But the difference is that he came back. And when Conner came back, it was the same thing. 6 for 32, 8 for 42.
But that was without Big Ben. And that was the problem. So he didn't have a chance to grow into this.
Problem?
I think it was a part of the problem. When you have a crappy quarterback,
all right,
people are going to game plan and stack the box. So,
all right. So Jeff, you're up here with 2. Let's get you a couple.
Yeah, I'm up here with 2. So I'm looking at 2 pass catchers right now. There'll be plenty of running backs coming back to me probably after 2 more rounds. Everyone's got 2. I don't think any backups are going to go. So I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce.
All right. So I'm just going to do Kelce here, but I understand that you picked Hopkins first, but okay. So you're not worried about Hopkins in Arizona. You think he'll pick up?
I am worried about it. Yes, with the new quarterback and not a lot of time to work with each other, I am very much worried. But again, receivers aren't going to be coming up. You have Godwin with Brady. You have a lot of other receivers with new quarterbacks.
Yep.
Okay, I understand. All right,
DJ Moore with Teddy Bridgewater. I've got to go with them.
So Keith, I'm back to you. You have Conner and McCaffrey. So what are you going to do now?
So I know this is going to be crazy because I still don't have that first receiver, but I'm lumping a lot of these into a specific category. I know I'm going to get one of the guys I want coming back in the 4th round. Right now, I'm going to take the best tight end in fantasy and NFL, and I'm going to go with George Kittle.
All right. So
in the last two picks, the top two tight ends go off the board.
right. Yep. Okay. So now we're at John's pick. He has Elliott and Hill. What are you looking to now?
You just put me in a fun position because I was actually going to go George Kittle because I was also betting on that.
Sorry about that.
Going like, okay, if you're going to go wide receiver, I'm going to get Kittle now for that reason. So I'm in that situation again. I have Le'Veon Bell. I don't like the Jets. I don't like the head coach of the Jets. I think, especially with all that stuff happening, I don't care for it. Chris Carson, really fun running back in Seattle. I don't see him going till another round from now. And currently, I'm third pick 3 right now. So by the time it gets back to me, I'll be fourth pick 7. And around that spot is when I'll probably be seeing, unless people really start going running back, Carson, DJ, Melvin Gordon all start going off the board. But
Right.
There's all these wide receivers that I still, if I was in a normal league without telling anyone my game plan,
Right.
I'm expecting everyone to start going wide receiver massacre right now and start getting as many, or someone's going to be crazy and go, I'm just going to take Patrick Mahomes right now, which I think someone in the end of the third round will do, which is take Patrick Mahomes. So for me, my choice is Godwin or Galladay. I like Godwin. I liked him a lot right now, especially last season with Winston. I thought he was a lot of fun to watch. I think he can pull off a lot of things with Brady, especially with Bruce Arians' offense. Galladay is a great wide receiver as well, but I just don't think as of right now the ceiling on him is high for me as it is
You're
for
going with Godwin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Godwin.
Great pick.
Yep.
All right. So we got Godwin coming back around. It is Brad's pick here. You've got the 2 running backs. What are you going to do?
No. Here I have. I have Aaron Jones, and Hilaire. Yep. So I was looking at Godwin there. I'm actually kind of happy that John took him, as I didn't really want to make that choice. So I'm going to go with Galladay here.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have the number of catches I would have liked last year, but Stafford's back, and they had a good connection before he got hurt. So I'm looking for him to increase his receptions, which will, of course, increase his yards. And he's just such an amazing, deep threat. So I'm going to take Galladay.
Yeah, I had him last year, and he pissed me off a lot because Galladay was the true definition of feast or famine.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Marvin Jones. I had him last year too, and Marvin Jones probably nuts.
Week 6, he had 5 catches for 121 yards, and then he followed that up with a stellar 1 catch for 21 yards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was the story of Galladay, but at this point, it's actually a nice value pick, Brad. Okay, so I agree with John in his philosophy with regard to what he was saying about the receivers and the running backs. I think that at this tier of receivers, I could bunch probably 20 of them together.
Right.
So I'm not worried about receiver. I don't know if I want to fill that flex position right now with these running backs between Carson, Gurley, David Johnson. I think for that flex position, maybe I'll take a flyer. So I'm going to do something that I did not plan on doing, but because of the way that this draft fell out, I almost feel compelled to do it. And that's Lamar Jackson. I think I can make up for whatever I don't get in running back with Lamar Jackson. But I think right now he's too tasty to give up at this position. So Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Lamar Jackson. I know I'm going to be hurting for receivers, but I'm loving it.
No, it's a good pick. If he fell to me in 2 slots, I was going to grab him. So I think it's a great value pick in the middle of the 3rd round.
Okay.
And Seth, I feel the same way about that. I think there's plenty of receivers out there, so I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes with this pick.
Yep, there you go.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yep,
There's plenty of receivers out there thinking I'll surely get the same one I'll get coming around the back end of round 4.
Right. And just as an update, the Miami Heat finished the 3rd quarter. They're up 92-86 over Milwaukee. It's going to be a really good
Really
finish.
exciting 4th quarter, yep.
Barn burner.
Okay, so we got 15 minutes left. Let's go ahead and figure this out. What are we doing here? Keith. Is it Keith? Yeah.
Yep, that's me. And I'm going to echo the same exact thing. I think all these receivers, there's tons that I'm going to get going what I want. Drake, if that misses, I love Chris Carson. He's the guy there as long as he doesn't fumble. So I'm starting off running back, and I'm going Carson.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so now we're at Chris. There are some running backs left that aren't running back by committee. What are you thinking?
Well, I was going to go Carson.
Sorry, bud. I knew I wouldn't see him coming around.
Yeah, I'll be quite transparent there. So, I'm staring at a couple guys here like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, and that is just so hard to swallow, at least on this swing. And if that's the case, I was also considering if one of the two dropped to me to go Mahomes and Jackson, so I'd have the best or at least in my opinion, the best wide receiver and one of the top two quarterbacks. But that plan got foiled also. So right. I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to go with Mike Evans at this point.
Mike Evans. It's amazing that two Tampa Bay receivers are in like the top 10. 7 or 8 receivers taken. It's amazing.
He did great last year, except for that one New Orleans game.
Did?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so Brad, right now you've got Joe Mixon and Julio Jones in this team. What are you doing?
So with those top 2 quarterbacks gone, and I'm 9 here, so I have a pick and a few picks. I don't know. So I'm gonna take Todd Gurley here. Even if he's not a 3-down back, maybe a 2-down back, I still think he should have a good number of touchdowns. I know they said that inside the 10, they're going to work him. They're going to give him the ball, and we know he knows how to find the end zone. So you're going to bank on him maybe having 60 to 80 yards a game, but maybe one, at least a touchdown, maybe 2.
Right. Okay, well, I get the same issue now, right? Because I've got the one receiver and the one running back.
Right.
So I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't think that the running backs are necessarily worthy right here. David Johnson, Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell. I'm sorry, I'm not touching them. I think I'm going to deal with having a poor, second or possibly even third running back at this point. And it's hard for me to pass on grabbing the next 2 best wide receivers. So I think in this case, I'm going to go with Amari Cooper and Allen Robinson, because even Allen Robinson last year with Trubisky had almost 1,200 yards receiving. And
I thought you said the 2 next best wide receivers.
Yeah, what about these?
I got to agree with Cyclops on that one, Commish.
Yeah,
you and I are usually pretty aligned. What?
No, but listen. Let me at least make my case for Allen Robinson, and I'm not a huge Allen Robinson fan.
That's not the one I was questioning.
Oh, Amari Cooper? Is it Amari Cooper?
Yeah, no. Look. I'm kidding a little bit. I know Cooper is. I had him last year. I know he had a lot of catches. I think with their offense this year, and Cooper can be a little frustrating at times.
Right.
But he does catch a lot of touchdowns. They throw it to him.
I understand. And that's, it's also why he's going at the end of the 3rd round.
Right.
So, from a value perspective, I actually shouldn't have picked Robinson here. This is a draft mistake, guys, because because now I've got a bench player before grabbing my starters. I could always use Robinson as my flex.
As a flex, right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But looking at my receivers with Adams, Cooper, and Robinson, I think receiver we're going to be okay. I'm going to be hurting at running back, though. Okay, so now we're back to Brad.
Yep. Back to me. So I have 2 running backs and a wide receiver, which probably puts me back. Now, of course, it's a flex, so I could. Do you guys hear that? I'm sorry if you hear that. The dog's barking in the back. I'm going to go with DJ Moore here. So I'm gonna start off with 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, and then I'm gonna mute myself just for a moment while that is going on. So you guys,
Okay. So DJ Moore, who I guess we have good expectations for him this year, and to grab him at this spot in the 4th round is not bad. But now we're at Chris. You've got the 2 receivers, 2 great receivers, and Austin Eckler. What are you going to do at this point?
Well, I may go the route that Bad Hombres went and try to rig it so that I've got 3 really good wide receivers, one of whom I can put into the flex position. It does make me a little nervous because if I do that, then I'm taking lottery tickets pretty much the rest of the way.
yep.
But I think I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh, you stole a guy. Oh,
That's a good pick.
Wait,
I know a lot of
he stole
people-
Juju in the 4th round. Come on.
well, there's 3 receivers out there that people are taking over him
I know.
consistently, so I'm a little surprised. Great pick. I'm very high on him this year.
All right, so now we've got the 3-headed running back team of Keith's second team. Kamara, Drake, Carson. I guess you're going receiver here?
Yeah, I'm definitely going receiver here. I just can't believe I got Juju snaked for me that with just 2 away. It's it's funny. You got OBJ sitting there. I love Adam Thielen here with Diggs gone. I just see him catching a lot of footballs and putting up some monster yards into the PPR. I got to go Thielen here.
All right, sounds good. So now, Jeff.
We'll go receiver and take Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
All right.
Snickerdoodle.
So let me ask you a question, Jeff. We all know that
Sure.
I'm not putting the pick down. I'm just curious. We know Calvin Ridley is a wide receiver number 2 on Atlanta. Do you feel that the wide receiver number 2 in Atlanta is going to be better off than the number 1 in Tennessee or in Cleveland? Which I guess you do because you wouldn't have picked him over one of the other guys. But is that your
Right.
theory?
I have the Falcons defense pretty down the bottom of the league, so I feel that Ryan's going to have to throw the ball a lot. And Julio's getting up there in age. So, yeah, Calvin Ridley's the young stud. He'll be getting his fair share of balls. There's a new sheriff in town potentially. Hopefully it will be Calvin Ridley.
It's almost like you feel like this could be the year that he's kind of handing it off, where another receiver on that team kind of overtakes him maybe not by a lot, but by a little bit.
Antonio Brown
overtook
him. Now Antonio Brown became expendable.
Right. Okay. So now comes, let me see, my pick here with Cook, Chubb, and Lamar. I know I have to go receiver at this point. I'm not a big Brown fan in Tennessee. I think that there's a regression coming with him. Odell didn't live up to Odell. He hasn't been Odell for a few years. Cooper Kupp is a possession machine. Out of all these receivers coming up, I think I know that I'm going to grab 2 of them in the next 2 rounds. It's just a matter of which ones I want. So I think here I'm going to grab Cooper Kupp because for a PPR with 94 catches last year, it's hard to turn that down. And I know that there's some negative issues with him as well, but at this point, that's my choice.
All right, so I'm going to pick quick here. I actually feel the opposite a little bit of Odell this year. I think he's going to have a bit of a comeback year. I'm actually very excited to get him late in the 4th round, and for him to be available. So I'm taking Odell, and I think that is a huge value pick at this point.
All right, John.
I'm going to also be quick, and I'm choosing Mark Andrews for tight end.
All right.
Now we have Jeff with 2. Let's see if we can get through at least one more round here in a few minutes.
No, you got.
I think.
Else in front of me.
No, I'm next. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Keith,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So obviously I'm going to grab my first receiver here, and I'm glad you picked Odell. I want to know part of him. Question is, do I go with Robert Woods, the 1A, 1B, or do I go with the number 1 in Seattle, which is Lockett? And I'm going to lock it in with Lockett.
you think Lockett's is 1, not 1A.
Yeah, I listen.
I'm just asking. I'm not.
No, I do. You know,
Okay.
I know he's. Oh my God, I'm spacing out on.
He's another frustrating.
All right, one stack.
DK. Yeah. No. I like Lockett. I do. I like him.
Okay. All right. So now we're back to Jeff with the number 1 pick. You've got nice colors. You've got one of everything here. What are you missing? What do you want?
Thank you, sir. Well, we're gonna go back-to-back Seattle receivers. I'm gonna take DK Metcalf.
All right.
They came on strong towards the end of the last year. And then can you go see what our running backs are like? David Johnson or Melvin Gordon? Yuck. I'm gonna go with AJ Brown. I'll take my flex receiver now.
That
So you're
is
doing
crazy how that feels.
Available.
You're doing DK and then AJ?
Yes, sir.
All right. So DK and AJ. And now we're back to Keith and the board. Here we go. What are you looking
So with only 2 running backs, I got to go yuck here with David Johnson.
All right.
I do find it amazing that there's certain teams where 2 wide receivers are going. Tampa, Seattle,
The Rams.
You know, all these, they have 2 receivers before 80% and 90% of the league has 1 receiver taken from a team. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, John.
Le'Veon Bell. I'm fine with this pick now.
Did you take
Go
Bell?
far enough. Yeah, I'm picking Le'Veon Bell.
We're going to have to cut off your privileges to the show.
Yeah, sorry. You're out.
You're now officially
Bye.
All right. Who knows at this position, right? Okay.
You go far enough for me. I'll take it.
So here, you know, I was looking at David Johnson here, if he was still there as, you know, 5th round, it's value pick. Of course, he's gone now. I know I did this the other day, and it is a flex league. And the more I hear about him and the other things going on, I'm taking Cam Akers here.
We already told you that was wrong, and now you're doing it again.
I'm doing it again. You will see.
Wow.
We're putting him in. You're in timeout.
Really? I mean, you think that somebody was going to grab him before like the 13th round? All right, fine. He's yours.
Singletary and Taylor on the board.
What?
Yes,
Singletary and Taylor on the board.
Yeah,
that's true. Okay, so now it comes to me. I am going to grab another receiver here, even though there are some running backs that I could target. But the fact that I've got a starter in Cortland Sutton is great. Parker, I like Parker, but as Jonah had pointed out to me a few days ago, that when you look at the stats with Parker when Preston Williams was healthy, was terrible. And it wasn't until Preston Williams was gone and Parker was the only choice that he got the stats that he got. So in this case, I'm going with a guy that is completely undervalued, that nobody thinks about, yet is probably one of the most durable and productive running wide receivers in the game, and that's Keenan Allen. Even with Herbert throwing to him or Tyrod Taylor throwing to him, it doesn't matter to me. But can you see? I don't know if you all can see the stats on the bottom right here. 1199, 1196, 1393, 10. I mean, this is unreal.
Yeah, there's only one stat you're missing there. Phillip Rivers is gone.
So I understand that, but he's still the number one.
That might not be a bad thing.
I mean, look at what McLaurin did last year without a quarterback.
With Haskins, yeah.
I mean, threw to himself. So in this case, I'm going with Keenan Allen, and now we've got Jeff.
And I will take Terry McLaurin. I do number 1 in Washington.
There you go. Formerly known as the Redskins. So now it is Keith.
I can't believe he's here. I'm going to take Robert Woods.
Yep.
All right. See, and Robert Woods is somebody that I would have taken over Keenan Allen had I not had Cooper Kupp. I did not want Kupp and Woods, but that's a very good pick right there.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're back to Chris.
All right. Well, at this point, I definitely am thin on running back choices. And so I'm going to go Melvin Gordon.
All right. is now we're not going to be going any further, but in this case, in your mind, would you be thinking that you're going to grab Philip Lindsay also a little later in the draft? Would that be any type of philosophy that you would have?
Well, it's actually kind of funny. What I've been doing in the couple of drafts I've had is actually staying, and this is the COVID piece of this whole thing, is I've been picking up very good backups like Latavius Murray, Chase Edmonds, those kind of people, regardless of whether my initial guy is a 1 to a 1A, just because if these guys start getting COVID and a team gets quarantined or they have to pull a team or even a position or a group offense, whatever, I don't know what they would do. But, having both Gordon and Lindsay is not going to help you if COVID strikes.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I wanted to mention to everybody that there's only one NFL player on the COVID list right now that the NFL has taken extraordinary measures to prevent COVID from spreading within the game, including testing on a daily basis. And quite frankly, I think that the idea of a significant player or a significant amount of players in the NFL this year will be missing, I think has been overblown, only because of the testing and the work that the NFL is doing to try to keep players from getting sick. But I understand, Chris, what you're saying, and it does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, Brad, our last two picks. You've got
right,
this pick. I've got the next one.
So I am going to, with the cluster of running backs and the cluster of wide receivers here, and my waiting after those two quarterbacks are taken, I'm going to go with Zach Ertz here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good value pick right there.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, we're at the end of the fifth round.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, easy.
And so for me now, I could go with the tight end, or I could go, I do need a running back. I only got one running back. And even though poor Marlon Mack has done nothing to lose his position, it's hard for me to allow someone like Taylor to sit there. I understand it might not be for a few weeks before he plays, but I'm willing to take that chance because I think this is boom or bust. And I would take the boom right here. And then coming back around, I could always grab another running back if I wanted to, just to make sure. Or at this point, go with Dak Prescott as the next best quarterback.
Yep.
So, Commish, quick question. What's the word on DeAndre Swift? What are they saying about him?
He just has a strain right now.
Yeah. He hasn't practiced in like 4 or 5 days, I think.
So not expected in this time?
But
they don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily going to be the workhorse anyway. The word was drafted him that he would come in as a third down back. But like we've mentioned before with Detroit, that offense, nobody really understands what's going to happen with that offense.
Right,
that's true.
So, guys, I just wanted to thank you all for being a part of this mock draft. We appreciate it. We don't want it to go much longer here, but I did personally want to thank you for joining us. Everybody did a great job tonight. And I think more important than how the teams look right now is why we drafted them. And I think you all did a great job of explaining why you pick certain players in those positions. So we'll pick things up Thursday night. By that point, we'll have some more information. We'll be a week away from football, and we'll be able to maybe get an idea of what some of these starting lineups are going to look like.
Yep, depth charts, lineups. I want to say that thank you all for coming. I say we print this draft out and kind of see how it plays out a little bit. We could almost break it up to quarters of the season, the first 4 weeks, and kind of see. It's only 5 rounds, but still, it's very telling as far as how it might play out.
We got to do one thing
for you guys.
But before you do that, we got to do one thing because we've done this every week, and we are less than 2 weeks out. We are really, really close. What is the percentage chance that we're feeling that the season's actually going to start? Because it's around the corner, and things have still been looking very good. I got to think optimism is running quite a bit higher now.
I'm at 90.
You're up at 90. Said you. That's quite a jump from
wow.
30.
It's a
huge
jump.
I have been going up 5% a week. This week puts it at 80 for me. That means by the Thursday that football's supposed to start, that would be 100% for me.
All right.
There we go.
I'm sitting right there as well. I'm very, very excited, and it's been a great thing. Go ahead,
right.
Jeff. I'm sorry, man.
All right. So there's 2 quarterbacks in the NFL starting right now that are from Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach County. Can you name them, their high schools, and what college they went to?
Well, I know
They went
Lamar
to the same
Jackson.
college. Who?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I don't know what high school, but I know he went to Louisville. And I know he's from South Florida, but I don't know which high school.
Didn't he go to like Miami Jackson or something?
No, he went to Boynton Beach High School. I saw
Boynton-
him play in his
Boynton
senior
Beach.
year.
And the other one is at Teddy Bridgewater.
That's right.
And I don't know where he went to high school.
Miramar.
Miramar. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Miramar, and went to Louisville also.
All right. Well, that was a good trivia question.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
trivia question.
Yeah.
You got it.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
Kobe Bryant.
Thursday night, 9:15. We appreciate you coming on. We'll go through. We'll get some more details for Thursday night. Hope everyone has a very safe next few days, and we'll be back.
Be good, everybody.
Everyone have a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Great show.